When did we see each other? What month was it? Was that May of last year? Or
it couldn't have been last year because we were at college.
We were at a college. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was last year. Marquette.
Last year?
Yeah.
2021?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess so. I guess it's possible. I don't know. Time is really crazy.
It is a weird thing. Yeah.
I was like, it must have been before the pandemic, but I guess the world did open up last year in some sort of way.
It was like all the rates were going down, and it was like a very, very socially distant show. I think there were 200 people in like a 1,200 seat
right.
theater.
And everyone had masks on. It was very strange. Yeah.
Perfect environment to tell some jokes in.
Absolutely. Yeah,
that's
what you want.
Yeah. If you heard a muffled chuckle in that room, it was like, I'm crushing. This joke's a keeper. Yeah.
I also feel like the lights were on. Which
is
the
lights
usually
were on.
The case for a college show because it's run by children and they don't always know how to run a show.
Yeah. Well, it's a tough thing. You run one and then you're like, oh, yeah, probably should have shut the lights off. Probably.
It's a learning thing. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. So you've got the show in Indianapolis coming up. And then where are you playing in Minneapolis? You playing...
I'm going to Indianapolis at the White Rabbit Cabaret, and then I'm going to Bloomington. I'm going to Comedy Attic.
When I go to Minneapolis, I like to play the Mall of America, because
I didn't even know you could play the Mall of America.
Yeah. What's a comedy club there? I'm asking myself now. House of Comedy? Is it the House of Comedy? I don't know.
Great.
Maybe. Sure, for the purposes of this conversation. So
I've never been to the Mall of America. I would like to go. It feels like that's like an American landmark that should be explored.
Yeah, it's right in Bloomington too. So
really?
Yeah.
What?
It's not even in Minneapolis. So it'll be your, if you got to get some
Are you
sneakers.
saying Minneapolis, like Minneapolis, Minnesota?
I think so. Wait, Bloomington, there's a Bloomington, Minnesota, too, isn't there?
Oh, I'm talking about Bloomington, Indiana.
Oh, well, this whole conversation shot, I don't know why I don't know why I thought that. Is it Bloomington? Now I need to, what's weird? I majored in geography. Yeah, you wouldn't know.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the case in the Midwest.
That was a serious.
There's lots of repeat. I don't believe
town names.
Town
lots
names.
of repeat town names. Yeah.
Springfields. What are other ones? I guess Bloomington.
I just drove through Austin, Minnesota today. So.
Yeah. There you go.
Nice this time.
Miami
of Ohio, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah, we could do that. This could be the podcast. We just riff on these things.
What are towns that are in different places?
Yeah, it's gonna be a solid bit. Yeah. So, well, let's actually. You grew up in Indianapolis or a different part of it? How'd you like that?
I liked it. I was a military brat until I was 9 or so when my parents split. But we bounced around a bunch, and then when I was 9, moved to Indianapolis, and I was there till I graduated for college. And my mom's side of the family stayed there. Like all of her siblings moved there eventually, and so it's kind of now that's where we are.
Yeah.
But it's nice. It's like a great place to raise kids. It's the Midwest.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah. Great review. Yeah. Solid.
Yeah. I mean, it's like definitely not fast paced, but it's also not like the slowest Midwest city I've ever been to. They're trying. And honestly, since I've left and like come back to visit, they're like putting cooler shit in there. It's like a Fountain Square where there's like, like a burlesque place, cool, like vegan restaurants, and there's like hipster bars and stuff. So,
yeah. When I was there, it was during the NFL Combine, so it had all the
new bells and whistles.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was always in Indianapolis, and I was like 2 weeks ago, years old when I figured that out. How is the new material coming along that you're putting in?
I'm really excited about it. It's I like, of course, I was trying to figure out how to address COVID, which is so annoying because I don't want to, but I can't not. I can't like act like nothing happened. But I've just been talking about like my anxiety that I've discovered is worse than I thought, which I think a lot of people can relate to. And yeah, I think there's like definitely more of a lean towards health in my material, which I wasn't trying to do, but it was like a nice discovery through writing just what's been going on or what I've been thinking about over the last couple of years. And yeah, I'm hoping that people feel a connection to it.
Yeah, and the anxiety, did you just discover that during COVID in a different way, or why focus on that?
I always knew I had social anxiety, but then it really like came out during the pandemic because I was like, well, I think everyone had a healthy fear of other humans in general because we could kill each other. But then I was just like distrustful of friends and like really not wanting to like have anyone near my home. And I was like, oh shit, maybe this is something else. Maybe it's not just like a regular like, oh yeah, I don't want COVID. But it's like, is there something deeper? And then also I was experiencing these heart palpitations, which I had whenever I had a panic attack, which is also something that like increased over the years. Nothing to do with the pandemic, just like occasionally I'll get a panic attack. But then I was getting palpitations minus the panic attacks, and I was like, what's that? And I did these tests and like had to do a thing where I had to like run on a treadmill, and I was like hooked to all these like tubes and stuff. Or I had a heart monitor that I had to wear for like 2 weeks. And whenever you feel a palpitation, I had to like tap on it to like let it know like something just happened. And then throughout the process, one of the doctors was like, it's probably nothing physical. It might be anxiety. And I was like, what? No, that's crazy. It must be something wrong with my heart, which is like, why would I want that to be the case? But but I was like, couldn't be anxiety. I feel great. And then results came back and they were like, yeah, thankfully nothing physically is wrong with you, which is great news. But I was like, well, what about the heart monitor? Like I was tapping it like crazy. And they're like, yeah, you were. The monitor itself wasn't reading anything. You were tapping it like 8 to 10 times a day. And I was like, oh, that sounds like something an anxious person would probably do. So yeah, there's anxiety there, which is like honestly good to know, because I feel like before I just had these palpitations and I didn't know what they were coming from, and I was like, oh, am I dying? Which would make me spiral even more. But now it's like, if it does happen, I'm like, okay, I'm anxious right now, and that is okay, and I can just breathe a little bit and maybe assess my surroundings. What's making me anxious? I don't always know the answer, but it's at least nice to know that's what's happening right now, as opposed to being like, what is this? Yeah.
I think I have that too. I don't know. Like where I guess I don't necessarily know how to describe it, but I feel like a lot of people have some form of it. Like, do you have any tips on how you're dealing with it now that you know that that's the issue?
I try to meditate. I learned transcendental meditation
nice.
In 2020, which was very helpful. But it's hard to keep up with for me, just because ideally you do it twice a day, like in the morning or the afternoon or whenever your schedule allows. But sometimes I wake up and I'm like, I don't feel like sitting longer. I want to start my day. But it's only 20 minutes. So it's like I waste 20 minutes scrolling on Instagram all the time. Like I can definitely just close my eyes for 20 minutes and be one with myself for a moment. And I always feel better after I do it.
Isn't that crazy? The things that make us feel the best, we just push them off.
Yes.
I started doing transcendental meditation too, like in maybe 19 toward the end of it, or 20. I can't even remember. Maybe 2020 was when I started doing it. But I'm good. I can get maybe one in a day. But I guess that's not how it works. You're supposed to do it twice.
So, after that second one, I'm like, whew, baby. That's what it was supposed to feel like the whole time. But I'm like, I can only fit in one. And it's like, you know the second one's going to be so good. Just do it.
Yeah. But we drag our heels to the things that are the best for us. That's kind of a relatable thing, no matter who you are, for some reason.
Totally. Yeah.
So anything other than meditation? Any other tricks of the trade?
I like being in nature.
That's good.
Yeah. Just even going outside. It doesn't have to be like a hike or, spending the whole day, but just like putting your feet on the grass or like just looking at trees or just. Also, I'd heard if you get like 5 minutes of sunlight in your retina, like don't stare at the sun, but just like if you're outside for like 5 minutes, it kind of boosts your endorphins and makes your body feel like awake. And also that helps you sleep, and sleep does also help your brain function. So yeah, getting outside is very important.
It's a whole thing. Yeah, I've gotten into the hiking stuff. That's always good. I like kind of a loser. I got some nice binoculars, so I got these ducks, and I watch these ducks outside my window. So I'm big into that. Yeah. I like the I don't know. There's something about like looking at birds is kind of like it's kind of like scuba diving, except outside water,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder, is there something with like getting older and liking birds? Because I also really like birds.
Do you?
I have like, yes, there's
no
parrots
way
that like fly over our yard like every night, and I just like go outside and watch the parrots.
Are they
and
green?
It's so nice. They are green.
The green? Those are like, aren't those somewhat famous, like the LA parrots or something? What's the deal with those? How did someone just get a bunch of parrots and let them go?
I've heard multiple stories. I heard there was like a pet shop that was burning down and the owner freed the parrots so that they could live.
I like that story. I don't know what competing storylines there are, but that's a good one.
I think I also heard like someone brought them from like South America or somewhere and like accidentally let them go. But yeah, there's a bunch of parrots here, which is amazing. I like them. They're very loud, but they make me feel good because it doesn't feel like that should be happening in LA. Yeah. But it is, so it feels like a different place.
That's that's a whole bit there of like, because parrots, if like parrots just repeated all the stuff they heard in LA,
Oh,
it's kind of like overheard in LA, but through the parrots.
Is there gluten in this?
Yeah, that's a whole animated concept right there or something.
Yeah, the LA parrots.
Yeah, exactly. So you like looking at parrots. Now, are you doing this just through your own eyes, or have you gone the extra step, invested in some binocs?
I've been doing it raw, just my eyeballs so far. Wow. But maybe I'll invest in some binoculars. I don't know. I guess
it's a game
changer.
They're
pretty close. They're close enough that I'm like, I can see them. But I guess if I want to see some far away birds, I should get some binoculars.
But I doubt, as sort of a binocular enthusiast now, they're never close enough. So I think you just owe it to yourself. You know what? I'm going to send you some binoculars. Okay. That is going to be my gift to you. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
I know that's a half facetious reply, but once you get them, you are going to thank me.
I think I will use them. A friend, because I kept talking about all the birds in my yard, a friend gave me like a bird index, and I was like, I do appreciate those.
Like an old school green, like Audubon Society book? That's amazing. Yeah, I think that's just what happens. You hit like, I'm 34. And I think as soon as I turned 33, I just, I went full on into the birds,
Yeah.
Start with one bird feeder in my backyard. And I was sick with work and I just started watching them. And I've been hooked ever since,
Yeah. We have hummingbirds, crows, parrots. I think doves. They look like pigeons.
Uh-huh.
But I think they might be doves.
Yeah, don't let them hear you call them a pigeon if they're a dove.
They're like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, please.
They're disgusting. Those are dirty.
Yeah, we are the lovebird. So, yeah, that's a whole thing. That's cool. Are birds making it into your next stand-up special? I'm sure you don't want to give away any spoilers, but that might get your 60-plus audience to the deal, You get a little bird watching jokes in there.
Oh, do I have any? No, I don't think I do have any bird jokes yet. But I probably should start writing. I think about them a lot. So
yet was the key word there. Yet was the key word.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you this last bird story. And
Please.
then maybe while I'm telling you, you'll think of another bird story. This podcast is so far off the rails already, but I think it's fun. But so we got these red-breasted mergansers, okay, which is like a duck, but it's a diving duck. And they've got the big head thing on them. And those are the males. Now, the females are more of like a light brown, kind of like, you know, how the cardinal, like the male is super bright and then the female is a little bit more subdued. Same situation here. Well, the female, and I don't know why that's important to the story. It really isn't. But the female was like sitting there and surrounded by 5 of the male ducks, and they just kept following her, and I was like, I don't think she wants this, you know?
I don't think she does. Yeah.
No. And then she swam a little bit, but then turned around and shook her tail feathers, and see, this is the detail you get when you get binoculars. And then she found her one out of the thing, and they swam off together. Isn't that incredible?
So they're like, please, 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 please. And she's like, just one of you.
Yeah. And she chose them, and then they went off together. It was crazy. Yeah. Yeah. So that's a weird story, but now you now you know. Now you know.
It did remind me of another duck story that I have.
Yes, let's hear it. What's the duck story?
When I was a kid, I don't remember how old I was. I think, let's say 7 or something. I was playing with a group of kids in my neighborhood, and we found a duck's nest, it was like in the median, in this grassy area, like before you turn down our cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
And it was unattended. It was just a nest full of eggs. And we were like, we'll take care of them. So we each took an egg and took it to our homes. And I put it in this like really fuzzy sweater that I had and put it under my bed. And I was like, I'm going to hatch this egg and have a duck in my home.
You robbed a duck's nest.
I didn't know that was bad. I did rob a duck, but the mom wasn't there. So I was like, well, these are up for grabs. And then my mom found the egg in my sweater and was like, why do you have an egg under your bed? And I was like, because I'm going to hatch a duck and raise it in our home. And she was like, well, this duck is basically dead now because it needs the warmth of its mother. We don't have the capabilities of warming this egg so much that it's going to crack its egg. And I was like, well, we put it back in the nest. And she was like, well, we already touched it. It's like, it smells like us now. So the duck's long gone. The duck is never coming back to that nest, which actually made me so sad. I was like, but this could have been a little duckling and I fucking killed it.
That is such a sad story. Did she make duck eggs out of it after? Did she crack it and
Whoa, that's a good question. I actually have no idea what we did with the egg.
No, I think we
maybe we did eat it. I need to ask her. Yeah, we just had eggs the next day, and I didn't even question it. I was like,
this one tastes a little different, but a little gamier than the average. Yeah, I'll roll with it. Well, in non-bird news, you're doing so many different things. You're on home economics and I don't even know if like some people say economics. That's more like a class. Home economics is probably how I've been saying economics. That was actually the first time I've heard someone say economics. You know what? That might just be a Midwest thing. I don't know. I don't know. Or I just heard someone say it like that once. I was like, that sounds smarter. I'm gonna keep saying it. It does sound smarter. Yeah. The economics, yeah. It's very professorial. It's definitely not a Midwest thing. I'm probably just copying something. Anyway, it's fantastic show. And actually, Erin Wernberg, she's been on this thing before, so over at ABC. Nice. So yeah. But how you guys right now? You're done shooting season 2. Season 2 is well underway. We're done shooting it, but it's still airing until May. Nice. So it's still available. And it's a great show, and you've done acting. Your whole career started off with improv, right? Mm-hmm. And then moved to SNL and everything, and now you're doing TV. Do you feel like, and you're shooting your next stand-up special, do you feel like you have made it, or are you still in that place of like, oh, this could all end tomorrow?
Thankfully, I don't feel like it could all end tomorrow. Mm-hmm. I do feel confident enough to be like, I'll get some work some way. But I also still have other goals I want to reach. So I don't feel like I've quote unquote made it, but I do feel like I'm in a good place.
That's a really good place to be like, oh, this could all end tomorrow. I feel like I'm always in that place of, oh, this could all end tomorrow. You know, so I just like ask, very fear-based. Yeah. It's like what wakes me up with a panic attack every morning. So, but that's a good place to be in. So like with that sort of perspective of it, you say you have like other things you want to do. What does that look like?
I want to direct. I would love to direct TV, films. I want to produce my own stuff. I want to write my own stuff. I have a book idea. I want to act more as well. I want to be in big flashy Marvel movies. I love that shit.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, I don't know. I just want to use all my abilities as best as I can and get more of my voice out there. Yeah.
Do you find yourself kind of going like a little like this thing like it's tough to do all these things at the same time, but are you somebody who can do, okay, now I'm just focusing on my stand-up special, now I'm just acting, like can you just do one thing at a time, or are you always like trying to
I am doing multiple things right now. Like we wrapped on Home Ec, but I will be shooting another show soon, and then Woke airs April 8th. So, like, the acting's still happening. But I do have more time to do stand-up, which I love. I honestly was like, oh, good. I have nothing but time to just focus on this. And then another gig came up, which, like, great. But I was like, all right, well, then I can do both. I'll just try to do both. So, I don't know. I don't know if I prefer one or the other. I like being busy. Honestly, I was talking to my therapist about this because I was, like, dying for another job. And she was like, is there a reason why you don't want to just like chill? And I was like, I don't want to assess that. I don't know.
We're not going there. I'm not paying you to look at that part of my life.
Yeah. I was like, is this a bad thing? I think it's fine to want to work all the time. But I think it's also probably good to take breaks and just be with yourself. So I'm trying to find that happy medium where I'm not just working, or doing nothing at all.
Yeah. I got a real hard time with just doing nothing at all. It sounds like when was the last time you were really able to just do nothing at all?
I don't even know, because I was also working during the pandemic, so I can't even be like during the time we were supposed to just like quarantine and be home. I was like really doing nothing because I wasn't. I was still working. Thank God. I don't know. I cannot think of a time when I was just doing nothing.
Have you always been that way? Like when you were a kid stealing duck eggs and everything, were you always just go?
Yeah, after I stole the duck eggs, I had a lemonade stand down the street. So I was like, I have things to do.
Did you?
No. I didn't.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But I was on the go all the time. Like in school, I did every club available. I was like in the literary magazine club. I was on the yearbook team. I was on the spelling team, bowling team, volleyball, track, show choir. I did orchestra. I loved school. I just really loved being at school all damn day. And then even after I was done with my activities, I would like go to the library and work on my homework. So yeah, I was a little worker bee.
Had that. Do you think that mentality came from being a military brat? And also, what is military brat even? I've heard that term thrown out a bunch. Where does that come from?
This is the child of somebody in the military, and which also means you probably bounced around a lot when you were younger. So like I was born in Japan, and then we moved to Kentucky, and then Texas, and then Virginia, and then California, and then my parents split, and I moved to Indiana and stayed there till 18.
So what makes you a brat, I guess, about it? Or why do they say brat?
That's a really good question. Because I don't identify as a brat.
Yeah, you don't seem like a brat. Yeah.
I don't know I don't know. That's just a term that's always, I've never heard a different option. I don't know why they call them military brats.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess that sidebar question is over. But what about, do you think that your parents being in the military and having that sort of mentality kind of influenced you to be such a hard worker?
I think a little bit. It definitely helped me be adaptable to change. Like, I don't have a problem uprooting and moving quickly. Like, I don't know. I think I lived in like 9 different places in New York when I lived there. Maybe actually probably more. But I always could find a place like in a weekend. I like, this is my place now, and I signed the lease and I moved my stuff and I'm done. So now I'm in LA and I'm in a house that I have planned to be here for a while, but it's like, it's new for me because the longest place I've lived was 4 years and in some apartment in New York. But yeah, I'm excited to see what this is like to be in a place that's like, this is my place now. And I'm choosing to stay here for a long, long time.
You haven't caught yourself like cruising other houses on Zillow, just seeing what else is out there, just for fun?
I still look. Yeah. It's just nice to look at Zillow and be like, what else is going on?
Yeah. When you were in New York, because you were doing improv, right, in college, and then how did you make that transition from doing improv to eventually get on SNL? What was that journey like?
I hit everything really hard when I moved there in 2009. I was doing improv, stand-up sketch, and within that year, my first year of living there, I was like, this is what I want to focus on. Because I thought I was going to do theater. I was trying to be on Broadway. But then I was like, my desires are pulling me towards comedy more. Mm-hmm. And I was just doing it because it felt good. It felt really fun. And I liked the people that I was meeting and I liked the people I was working with. Yeah, I think I just was so into comedy and loving what I was doing. And then eventually was like, oh, I can actually like work from this. Like my manager saw me on stage. My agent saw me on stage. And then like the people I was surrounded by were like in commercials or on SNL or other shows on The Office. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't realize this is the farm for all the funny people I see on TV. And eventually, the artistic director of UCB, the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater, told producers at SNL, hey, you should come see this group. It was me, Nicole Byer, and Keisha Zoller perform. They're really great and funny, and you should see them. And someone saw us, asked to submit our tapes. And that was like maybe 2011 or something. So I auditioned a couple times in a row. And then in 2013, I was like, you know what? It's my last time. I'm going to put together a really good tape. I'm going to try my best. Because I tried before, but it was always like if it happens, great. I don't know. We'll see. You know, if the universe wants to be, it'll be. And then that year, I was like, I'm actually going to try to do this. I'm saying it out loud. I want this to happen. I want to be on this show. I've always wanted to be on the show. And I'm going to give it a really good try. And if it doesn't happen, that's okay. And I will move to LA. I feel like I've exhausted a lot of opportunities in New York. I feel like maybe it's time to try other things in a different place.
Yeah.
And so I submitted my tape, and then it became it was like a very fast, frenetic frenzy that happened at the end of 2013. So it was like the tape, and then there was a showcase, and then there was an in-person audition in the studio, and then there was an interview or a few interviews, and then like it was like beginning of December until beginning of January, I was doing this long process, and then first week of January they let me know that I got hired. And then, wow. Which is also funny because I had already had a place lined up in LA because I was I'm leaving. I'm out of here. And then I was like, oh shit, well maybe I'm not leaving. And then I had to let the place go and stay.
What caused that internal shift for you to go from like, I kind of want this to no, this is exactly what I want? Like what made that shift?
I mean, I do remember a friend helping me with that because I was talking to my friend Charlotte, who's also a stand-up and writer, and she was like, do you want to be on SNL? And I was like, I mean, yeah, who doesn't? And she was like, do you actually want to be on that show? Like, just say it. And I was like, yeah, I really, really want to. And she was like, okay, then then go for it. So yeah, and that really did. It felt like a flip was switched, and I don't actually know what I did differently, but just energetically, I think me saying that out loud affected my thought process in that regard, because it wasn't like a just whatever thing. It was like, this is actually important to me and I'm trying, and it paid off.
So when you were doing the audition process, did you find yourself like in the zone, or did you have like just like Lorne Michaels is there, it's such a big thing, especially as a comedian, you build that up so much in your head. Were you building it up in your head, or were you able to just be you when you were auditioning?
I think both. I think I built it up in my head, and I was able to be myself. And I feel really, really lucky that I had, like, it felt like the comedy community was also supporting me with this too. Like, I was living with one of my best friends at the time, Mateo Lane, and he was also a stand-up, and I was like going over my audition with him, and we rewrote everything that night, like the night before I was supposed to do it. Which it was like the same stuff, but just different jokes. But it just felt good to have someone there to be like, I see how this is funny here. Like, let me help you punch it up. And then Hannibal Buress was hosting a show called At the Knitting Factory. It was comedy at the Knitting Factory. And I texted him and I was like, can I just do 5 minutes real quick? I just need to run my audition in front of other people because I just rewrote everything and I need to make sure it's funny. And he's like, absolutely. And then I did it. And then he texted me after and was like, I think you're going to have to let go of that LA place. And I was like, oh, that's really nice. But yeah, I just feel like I was very well supported and felt pretty confident going in. And then when I actually was in front of Lorne Michaels and the rest of the producers and writers, it's interesting because they have everyone to the side of the camera, but you're not supposed to look at them. You can if you want to, but the who you're auditioning for is the camera, which is right in front of you. And the stage manager, Chris Kelly, who was so nice and supportive, and he was like, you can look at me. I'm going to be standing right next to the camera. Even if no one is laughing at what you're doing, I'll be laughing. And I was like, okay. And everyone was laughing, thank God. But I would look to the side of the camera and see Chris, and he had just like a big smile on his face, and that was so nice and wonderful and made me feel at ease. And I honestly kind of blacked out that experience, but I know I left the stage feeling like that was the best thing I've ever done. Like, I still feel that way. That's like one of the best performances I've ever done in my life. And it worked. Wow.
That is probably so not the typical story for your average person who walks into SNL to audition. It's probably like, I was terrified. But they don't get on SNL. So that's, were you, at that point, were you dealing with the anxiety and all of that as well? And
I was, but I didn't know it. I don't think I was like aware of it, but for sure. I was like a mess. I was in bed. After I had auditioned, I didn't hear anything for like a week or two, and they're just like, "We'll get back to you." And I did not leave my bed for a while, which like thankfully I had good roommates who could bring me food and water. But yeah, I felt very anxious and crazy throughout that process, but and also I think everyone else does too.
Yeah. Well, once you got it, what was that like? Do you remember where you were when you figured it out?
I was at home. I was in my room. I had missed a call. Oh my God. I had missed a phone call. I was like sleeping with the phone on my pillow for weeks. And then I like went to the bathroom, came back and saw a missed call. And I was like, what the fuck? And I called back, and it was one of Lauren's assistants. And she was like, hold on, I'm going to patch you through to Lauren. I was like, oh my God. And then Lauren got on it, which is also very funny because he sometimes talks in a circular manner where you don't actually know what he's saying. So he's said very complimentary things to me and was just like, yeah, I think it'd be really good if you were on the show and things would be good here. But like wasn't like you're hired. He wasn't like you're hired and you will work here. It was just like it would be nice. And I was like, okay. And then he hung up. And I was like, am I on the show? And then a producer called back and was like, to be clear, you're on the show. You start next week. And I was like, oh, okay, good. Thank God.
That's hilarious. So when you got in and started sort of getting in the weeds with it, was it everything you expected, or was it more pressure? How did that feel?
I don't know if anyone could ever expect what it is, because it's always so much more. There's so much going on in that show, and it's like the schedule is not like any other show. The amount of work that you do as a performer and writer is not like any other show. It's just like there's no training for it. But it was immensely helpful for me as a performer and a writer and a comedian, because I was surrounded by so many hilarious, super talented people. And then also you get to create your own thing. Like if you get a sketch on, you pick the costumes, you pick the set design, you pick everything. So you're kind of producing your own thing. And that's like a really cool feeling, and also like training that you don't get everywhere. So I really feel like it was like a boot camp, and I left with so many skills to the point where I'm like, I feel like I could do anything. Like I did that, I can do anything.
And did you have the aspirations to be a director before that, or did that kind of give you the tools where you're like, this is something I really enjoy?
That's a good question. I think I was intrigued by directing, and I had directed like plays and a couple like comedy videos before that. But I think, I do think seeing more of the input and control you could have on a production made me want to do it even more. Yeah,
nice. And so you stayed there in the 4 years you were there. Is there like a sketch or something that never made air? Or maybe it did make air, but it's like, this was so underwatched. People should go check it out right now.
I mean, not to brag, but the sketches that I did that got on were well watched and did really well. But of course, I definitely did sketches that like didn't make air. I'm trying to think of, but it's actually pretty crazy. So much happens every single week. I'm finding that my memory is actually pretty bad of my time there. Like I watched The Jinx, that Robert Durst documentary series during the pandemic, because I was like on a like murder kick. And I was
we all get on.
I was like, and I was like, I haven't watched The Jinx. I didn't watch it when it came out, but I know that SNL did a sketch about The Jinx when it was out. But I didn't understand it because I didn't watch the documentary. So I was like, oh, now I'll be able to go back and watch that sketch and know what they were talking about. And so I finished the whole series, and then I was like, oh, let me find that SNL sketch. And I pulled it up, and I'm the first face you see. But I didn't know I was in that sketch. The first person who's speaking is me, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm in this? I like fully forgot that I was even a part of it. So, but also like we all do so many sketches every week, so it's like, how could I possibly? I can't remember everything.
I was gonna say that's just the product of just making so much content all the time, and like writing too, because you're writing pretty much every week. Did you feel that pressure that a lot of people feel when they get on there? Like, if my stuff's not on, like it was a bad week, or were you able to have confidence in yourself despite a maybe not the best week?
Yeah, I think by the end, I was just giving myself new goals, because you can't bank on getting something on every week. So I was like, all right, if I can get something that makes the room laugh when we read at the table, I feel good. Or like if I get something that we rehearse, I feel good. Or if I get I don't know, it's just like find different things to, different markers to hit, as opposed to getting something on air. Because it's like, the numbers are bad. there's 18 writers, 17 cast members. There's topical things that we have to hit during the show. And there's only maybe going to be 8 sketches in the show, or whatever number we end up landing on. But it's like, that's hard. It's hard to be able to get something in there. So I was trying to be kind to myself by the end. But also, thankfully, I had already been doing stand-up for years at this point when I was on the show. So if I did have a bad week, I could go do a show, and that would make me feel really good. If it was like, oh, fuck, I'm not funny, or like people don't like my ideas, or whatever self like loathing thing I could say in my head, I could just go drop in on a show, do a set, and like get immediate feedback from a crowd that's like positive, and then be like, yes, I am good at this. It's okay. I'm not the worst at what I do. People still like me.
Yeah. It's funny. I feel like a lot of comedians are like that. If I have a bad show, the only thing that's going to make me feel better is a good show, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. And it's almost like you're only as good as your last one. It not the full mental picture of yourself, but there is this part of like, I'm only as good as the last video or the last show. It's kind of crazy how our brains are built like that. So you were there for 4 years. What made you decide to move on?
I think I just felt like I had gotten a lot from the show, and I was ready to do some more stuff, just more of me, and moved to LA, and pretty quickly got on some TV shows, and that was really nice. And yeah, I just wanted to explore what else I could possibly do.
Did you have like an agent or manager at this point saying you have these offers coming in, you can't do it if you're doing SNL? Like, did you feel like comfortable leaving, or were you like, this is a big risk?
It was a risk. I did not have those things.
You didn't.
I know. I guess I just believed in myself, which is like, I don't know. It would be scary to anybody. It was scary to me, but I just was so confident that I could be okay. And yeah, I was like, what else is going on out there? And it wasn't very long before other people were like, oh, she's free now. Okay, let's go. Let's give her this job, or like put her over here. But I wish I could be like, yeah, I had tons of shit lined up. So I was like ready to go. Like people were knocking at my door. No, not at all.
That's incredible. I mean, did you have people telling you like, you shouldn't do that, you should stay a while longer? Or was everyone like, no, that makes sense?
I had people in my life who were like, I wonder if you should do that. Like, you could do that, but that's scary. Yeah. And of course it's scary. And then also, like, most of my friends are comedians, and most comedians want to be on the show in some capacity. Right. So, like, me saying I'm going to leave seems strange because they're like, well, why would you leave the thing that I want to do? Or, like, why would you leave this thing that everyone else wants to do? But thankfully, I have a manager who, like, the reason I worked with her is because she was on some like, we're gonna change the world shit. So she was like, you're bigger than this show. You can be on the show, but also like, I don't give a shit if you're here. And I was like, great. So like, I feel like my team, we're on the same page. My team was with me. No one was like, oh God. And I've heard other people who have experienced that, where people are not in their corner and they're like, oh, maybe you should stay like a couple more years, or like, you don't know what you're missing out on. This is a great club to be a part of. And all that stuff is true. But yeah, I was just feeling like, I spent years there, and I do feel like I got a lot of good stuff out of it. And I also was feeling very anxious and was feeling like maybe I need to do some stuff that's going to make my brain and emotions feel a little clearer and healthier. And yeah, I chose me.
Yeah, no, that's good, because it's an intense thing, right? When you're working there every week, I mean, it's a lot of late nights. It's a lot of, and you're dealing with topical stuff, so it's quick turnaround on a lot of it. So
yeah, and that's also a point where I was like, I don't want to talk about this stuff anymore.
Right.
I don't really give a shit about, I don't know, not that I don't give a shit, but just like, this is not bringing me joy. I don't want to talk about Trump. I don't want to talk about what's happening in the White House every single week, but that is literally what we're doing. So
right.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. That's probably that military brat, or whatever you want to call it, always traveling around. Was that where you lived the longest? Was that the 4-year stretch in New York?
Yeah, was it? I mean, No, I moved a couple times while I was on that show. But that was like the longest job I had at that point. Yeah. So that was like, so yeah, maybe it also part of me feeling like I can like cut ties and move on is because I am used to that. Where I was already in the state for 2 years. Time to go. You know, I was already at this show for 4 years. That's a good amount of time. I did it. I think I can move on and try other opportunities.
Definitely. And your parents, have they been supportive of it the whole way through?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like my mom started being supportive when I got on SNL. I think she was just confused before. She was like, how are you going to make money? Like you're moving to New York to do comedy, excuse me. Yeah. But then I got on SNL and she was like, oh, I always knew, of course. And then when I left the show, I think she was like, interesting. But also like people outside of the industry don't fully know what that means. They're just like, oh, I guess she's just leaving. They don't know like I have a 7-year contract or like that's a big deal. But yeah, I think she was like, well, I hope you get something else. And then other jobs did come. So I think she's like, great. As long as she can take care of herself, I support this.
Oh, I wanted to, speaking of your mom, I just wanted to touch on her because was it This American Life, I think?
Yeah.
Where you interviewed her about her experience essentially being part of the desegregation of one of the schools down there. Can you just talk about her experience a little bit?
Yeah, that was interesting. I was asking my mom questions about her time growing up in Arkansas. She's from Forest City, Arkansas. And I always knew that she had helped desegregate a school, but I didn't know any details at all. And I think at some point in my adulthood, I was like, that must have been really hard. I was like, like we hear about these people who do like sit-ins and marches and everything, but I don't think we think about like, what was that like? Like, what was that day like? Or what was that experience like? What was it like at home? And so I started asking her a bunch of questions and she was just coming up with really interesting answers. And I was already talking to This American Life about potentially doing a story with them. And then I was like, I'm asking my mom all these questions. Can I just do that with you guys? And they're like, absolutely. And so I interviewed her and it was interesting. Like and I'm glad she shared because it seemed like it was rough for her to dig into these memories because she was like, that's very alienating for a child to go to an all-white school where they do not want you there and you're in front of teachers who do not want you there. And it wasn't her choice. And that's something I didn't think about either. Like her parents signed her up for this initiative and she was like, if I had a choice, I would have stayed with my Black friends at my old school. It was just so interesting because like I for sure didn't want to do stuff I was told to do when I was a kid. My mom made me play the violin. I hated that. But like, I can't imagine my mom being like, you have to uproot your social circle and go to the school where you will be physically abused, verbally abused, emotionally abused for years. And because that's going to help progress. But you can't see that when you're a kid. But I'm glad she did it. I'm glad she talked about it. I think she's happy. I don't think she's happy she did it. She says she's not happy she did it. But she's, I think, aware of the impact that it's had. It was just like a really hard experience to be a part of.
Mm-hmm. And did sort of her mindset, or did that she did that being in the back of your mind, did that inspire your activism?
Oh yeah, I think so. I come from a long line of strong people, like people who have started initiatives or changed things in their school district or their county. Or I feel very fortunate that I'm like a part of a family that's like, we're tough. And I think so when I am faced with challenges or faced with things that seem a little scary, I'm like, well, I can handle that. And it just doesn't even, I don't question it. It just feels like I can handle it. And I think it's because I know I come from good stock.
Yeah. Yeah. And specifically your work with the ACLU, when did you start that, and what first inspired you to get involved?
I actually started shortly after I got on SNL, and I'm the celebrity ambassador for their Women's Rights Project, and they approached me, and I think they just saw videos I had put out and my stand-up, and they were kind of like, your material aligns with the work we're talking about, and we would like to collaborate, which I took it as a huge compliment, because I was like, oh, okay, like, yeah, that's what I want. I mean, I want to make people laugh, but I also want to motivate people and get people to think and get people angry or questioning things, or I just want to move people to action. And I feel like working with the ACLU is a great way to do that, because it's like a symbiotic relationship. They tell me what they're working on and what things need to be addressed, and then I tell them what I'm working on. And I feel like it's a great way for me to help inform my audience, but also help their audience digest things a little bit better, because I feel like comedy is a great way to get people's defenses down, and people are more apt to like listen to a joke or watch a funny video than like read an essay or a book or listen to a TED talk about some injustice that's happening around them, because that, you know, that makes people feel bad or cringy or attacked. And so I feel like me using my comedy to help shed light on some issues has helped people be able to absorb it a little bit better.
Yeah, it's interesting how I think in 2016 we really saw this, that, you know, or even in 2020 with George Floyd, like when you come at people with hard facts, there's so much pushback on it. There's so much, I don't think I had noticed how much people will just dig their heels in at just inaccuracies, you know, and just in order to fulfill their thing. So in creating your comedy, your stand-up, do you like consciously maybe weave in an issue while, you know, leading with the jokes? Like, do you construct it that way, or does it just organically happen?
It kind of organically happens, which is interesting, because I'm like, I guess that's just how my brain works, because I'm not trying to do it. Like I tried to write like a real like silly joke about cars with eyelashes. Like, why are there cars with eyelashes? Who is doing this? Like, who hurt you? What happened in your life that led you to the point where you wanted to put eyelashes on your vehicle? Yeah. And so it came from a very silly idea, but then it morphed into this thing where I started analyzing the difference between car eyelashes and truck nuts, and then like, is that a reflection of society? Like, why are we putting nuts on the car, and like, why is that the level of like virility we want to display? And so it's just like, of course it went there. But I can't even just have a silly joke about eyelashes. I have to start dissecting society while I'm doing it. But yeah, I try to start things from like a personal place, like something that confused me, something that angered me, something that happened to me. And then most of the time it does get a bit expansive, and I start talking about what that actually means culture-wise. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and is there a bit, and maybe that is it, but is there a bit you're the most proud of for doing that? I mean, that one's phenomenal, especially when you bookend the car with the truck nuts, and instead of bumper to bumper coverage, they should say truck nuts to eyelashes coverage, you know? That's exactly. A new marketing scheme.
That's a really good question. I'm trying to think. I mean, I have some bits I'm very excited about in my special.
Yeah, why don't you just share them here? You know, it'll be. We'll wait for the special.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I know we're running up on time, but before I let you go, do you sort of have advice for up and coming comics, kind of, who look at what you're doing, they're like, that's it. That I would have, if I were in her position, I would have made it, Do you have any advice for them for like how to get there and maybe not focus on that made it aspect as much?
Yeah. I would say don't wait for a yes or don't wait for permission. I feel like the times I've been rewarded the most are because I just did a thing because I wanted to do it, as opposed to like waiting for someone to like, sign me to a thing or give me a job or give me money to do a thing. Like SNL knew about me because I created my own improv group, and like also our improv group came to be because all of us were rejected from the teams at our theater.
Really?
So it's like, yeah. So,
oh, that's cool. I had no idea that was. I'm cutting off your advice because I mean, can we just pause your advice though?
Yes.
That is incredible. That you were the island of misfit improv toys, and you just said, screw it, we're gonna do it anyway. And then, I mean, who was all on that team again?
Me, Nicole Byer, and Keisha Zoller.
That's incredible. Yeah. I mean, I don't have anything to say other than that's incredible because you're all amazing, and so you just decide to do it anyway. That's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like easy to be like, oh, there's a system or there's rules. This is you do this, and then you take classes, and you and that's how you get the thing. And we did all that stuff for years, and we still didn't get the thing. We still didn't get on stage, and we were like, well, no one's telling us to not perform, so we can just perform whenever we want to. So we formed our own group, performed around the city, and then there was a competition show called Cage Match where two teams go against each other every week, and the audience votes on who comes back the next week. Yeah. And we had like a tear. We were beating our teachers, we were beating house teams, we were beating everybody. And then eventually the theater gave us our own night because they were like, well, clearly they're good. Which is also why the artistic director told SNL about us, because they were like, this team is killing it and you should probably see them. And yeah, I just feel like most of the moves I've made that were for me, that made me feel good or supported my artistry, that was the thing that made someone want to hire me, or that was the thing that made them want to propel me in a certain direction. Yeah. And like when I think about the jobs I've booked, like a lot of them have been like because someone just knew my stand-up or just knew I was funny, and they're like, you would fit perfectly for this thing, and not because like I had a awesome audition or they're just like, we want you, specifically you. So yeah, I would say do what you can to get your voice out there as much as possible. Even this special I'm about to film, I'm self-producing it. I don't have...
Are you? I'm doing the same thing right now because no one's going to buy my thing, I'm guessing. So I'm just going to do it.
I'm just going to do it. I don't want to wait for someone to be like, oh, yes, finally, this network is going to say yes. And now I have like a million voices telling me like how to spend my money, where I can just do it now and license it later. And then I own it. And it's like fully me. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's cool because when you get into the weeds of all that, like Netflix owning it or what, I mean, I would definitely take a Netflix special. But if they own it. So we're on the record. But the upside of doing this is like you own it. You can release the clips in any way on social media and there's no issue. And then, I mean, just the money from it, whoever you sell it to, you're in such a greater position of power if you're driving the deal, Yeah. That's cool. And you can do whatever you want, your own stipulations. So that's good. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, congrats on that. I'm very excited for it to come out. You don't have a release date yet, I'm assuming.
I don't have a release date. I'm filming it June 3rd in DC at Union Stage.
Nice.
And I'm very excited about it.
Very cool. Well, I'm excited to see it when it comes out. And I'm glad we met doing that show at Marquette. And
me too.
Yeah, glad we got a couple. Where'd we get a beer after? I don't know.
It was some like taco place.
Yeah. It was that taco trucks and everything in Milwaukee. It's like, I can't remember. If I had more memories, this would be a better interview. But, I remember we had a good time. That's what I remember.
We did have a good time.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate your time again today. And I am going to send you those binoculars. So be on the lookout in the mail. Yeah. No.
I'm actually genuinely excited.
You thank me after you look at those parrots through those binoculars. You're going to be like, where were these knocks my whole life? Yeah, you're going to shorten it to knock. Once you start calling them knocks, then
I'll be a real pro.
You will. Yeah. Awesome. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right. Take care.